What is up, everybody? Chris here from Fake Sports News, back at it again with another video. Today I'll be going over the results of Division A of the Call of Duty Pro League for the week of May 13th through the 16th. We kicked off the week with FaZe Clan versus UYU. FaZe, of course, swept UYU 3-0. Looking at the next match of the day, we had Optic taking on Gen.G. This was a really exciting match. Gen.G, of course, won the first two maps, but Optic evened the score by winning the next three and getting a reverse sweep. It was an incredible match, so if you didn't see the match live or you didn't watch the VOD, please do yourself a favor and go back and watch it. These are the top two teams in the division going head-to-head, so this was a very important match for seeding. Looking at the action from Tuesday, we had Evil Geniuses taking on UYU in our first match of the day. They beat them 3-1, and this was very significant because this was their first win in the Pro League since March. Of course, they came into Pro League with a 2-9 record, so this was very big for them. Moving on to the next matchup, we had Gen.G taking on Midnight Esports. Of course, Gen.G came out with a decisive 3-0. They've looked to be the stronger team between these two every time they've matched up on LAN. Next, of course, we had Optic Gaming taking on Team Reciprocity. This was a great showing for Optic since Rec has had their number multiple times this year. Of course, they beat them 3-1, so it was a great showing on their part. And to close out the day, we had FaZe Clan taking on Luminosity, and surprisingly, they swept them 3-0. This was very surprising to me because Luminosity, of course, they've had their struggles as of late, but they had a decent showing at London. Not what we would have expected, but good enough. So I wasn't really expecting FaZe Clan to sweep them. I would have expected LG to win at least one map, but we'll see if LG can regain going into next week. Of course, looking at Wednesday, this was one of the best days of Pro League in recent memory. If you have not seen the entirety of these matches, I would definitely go back and watch the whole of the Twitch or YouTube VOD, whatever you prefer. Incredible matches. This is probably the best week that we've had of Pro League since it was introduced in Black Ops 3. We had an insane upset to close out the day, and we had 3 Game 5s. So it was absolute pandemonium. Started off the day with a really exciting matchup between UYU and Midnight. Of course, Midnight beat UYU 3-2, as you would expect, but this was UYU's best showing of the week without a doubt. This, of course, was followed up by a very intense matchup between Optic and FaZe Clan. Of course, Optic took the win in Game 5. Incredible series. This was really the first time that we've seen the FaZe-Optic rivalry be reunited within the last year or so. Of course, since World War II, when FaZe beat them in Stage 1, that was extremely heartbreaking. That artillery, the artillery dodge by Attach, I mean, that single-handedly disbanded that dynasty that Optic had built. So that was an incredible showing from them last year, and it was good to see this rivalry take place again on LAN. Of course, our next match saw Reciprocity beating Gen.G 3-2, which was really surprising considering that both teams faced off against Optic earlier in the week and Gen.G had a much better showing. Of course, so we expected them to be in better form going up against Reciprocity. Our last match of the day was an insane upset. Of course, Evil Geniuses beat Luminosity, who were our CWL Fort Worth champions. This was surprising because, of course, as I mentioned before, Luminosity won CWL Fort Worth, while Evil Geniuses came into the Pro League this week with a 2-9 record. So, looking at Evil Geniuses, of course, they did make a roster change, but this is a very new roster. This roster was the last one announced before CWL London, So it's only been a roster for about 3 to 4 weeks at this point. And they beat a team that won a major in this game. So they clearly are a very good team, and they're really trying to make their way into the top 6, of course, of the Pro League. We'll see if they can keep up their momentum next week. Looking at our last day of action, we started off with a hot 3-0 from FaZe Clan, of course, defeating Team Reciprocity. We then had another upset from Evil Geniuses, who upset Gen.G with a 3-0 sweep. Of course, Evil Geniuses is really trying to stake their claim as a top team in Black Ops 4 at this point. They've had an insane week. Of course, they went undefeated this week. They went from 2-9 to 5-9, so they're really climbing up the standings, and they're really staking their claim as a top team. Of course, moving on, our next match we saw Midnight beat Luminosity 3-0, and their problems continue. This doesn't bode well for them. They had an 0-3 week. Even though Rec and UIU also went 0-3, we expected Luminosity to win at least one series this week, considering the fact that they have, of course, one of the top 3 players in the game, undisputedly, in Gunless, and another top player in Formal. So with those 2 players, as well as their supporting players in Slacked, Classic, and John, you would really expect these guys to come out with at least one win this week. They have multiple champions on their roster. They have multiple championships between them, so we'll see if they can really fix their chemistry issues next week, and if they can get back on track. In our last match of the week, of course, we saw Optic take on UIU. Optic had yet another dominant performance against UIU, and the significant thing from this series was the hard point. Of course, Optic beat them 250-33. Honestly, if someone had told me that this happened secondhand and I didn't watch it for myself, I wouldn't believe the scoreline. This is one of the most dominant performances that we've seen since Hardpoint was introduced into the pro scene in Black Ops 2. This is definitely one of the best weeks of Pro League that we've had since its inception in the Black Ops 3 competitive season. So if you didn't catch any of the matches from this week, I recommend that you go back and watch any of the closely contested matches. Of course, the 3-1s and 3-2s, because they were really, really good. Of course, Evil Geniuses had a great showing this week, as did Optic. So those are 2 teams to watch out for going into next week. I'll be bringing another preview video going over the matches for Division A for next week. So this will be our last week of Division A play before we switch to Division B for another 2 weeks. And then after that, we'll have, of course, CWL Anaheim. So please be sure to tune in next week. We'll have more exciting action. It'll be interesting to see who ends up within the top 4 in the next week because, of course, Gen.G have been in decent form, but they could really fall out of the top 4 if they don't play consistently. And Evil Geniuses is gunning for a top spot, so I'm interested to see how they end up at the end of this 2-week window. So please be sure to tune in next week and be on the lookout for my videos giving updates of the action that takes place. And once again, this is Chris from Fake Sports News. Hope that you have a great morning, noon, or night, wherever you may be, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.